What is going on, guys? Winner Kills here, and welcome to a live testing match. Here we have Tearlament versus Swordsoul. Hopefully you guys are going to enjoy this one. Didn't record any locals feature matches this week because we played old format, so managed to get some friends together to record some new format stuff. So hope you guys are going to enjoy them. My friend on the right here is going to be playing Sprite, I believe. My friend Colin, aka C Goody. But he didn't get all the cards he needed for it, so he's playing the tried and true, right, Swordsoul. So we'll see how this one plays out. Swordsoul, old format deck versus Tearlament, should all branded new format deck. See how it fares against the new spice, the new heat, right? So we're going to see my friend Dan here throw the Ash down on the Vessel for the Dragon Circle, or Vessel for the Dragon Cycle. Always get Circle and Cycle mixed up. But we're going to see him throw the Ash there, and then Colin is going to have the normal summon of Ecclesia. Ecclesia effect will resolve, obviously. Now we know the Ash has been baited. And that'll go ahead and grab Taya. Taya will banish the Vishuda. Be able to potentially get back later with Adhara. And, be able to apply more pressure going second. Or give him potential discard off like a Longyun here, since he's got the Taya dump and the Chijiao add. So could easily go ahead and dump an Adhara and then add a Longyun. And then Adhara banished, add back the Vishuda. And then the Vishuda could be discarded. Or you can go ahead and get Ashina in the rotation here like we're seeing. I believe DD Crow is in hand as well. Looks like maybe DD Crow Imperm. DD Crow, obviously, I think is on most people's radar right now for being a pretty decent hand trap going forward, because it counters the Tearlament deck very, very well. It's also not a half bad hand trap against the Sprite deck either. Can hit the target engrave for Sprite Elf, and it can also hit those Ronins or swaps or whatever out of the graveyard. So DD Crow, as much as I thought it was like a one-sided hand trap versus the Tearlament deck, going forward, I think it's also going to be a very, very strong hand trap. Oh, maybe not strong. Maybe strong is like a little bit of an over-exaggeration, but I think it's going to be a pretty decent hand trap going into the Sprite matchup. So it looks like he will go ahead and dump the Adhara. I was going to say the Ashina, the Ashina makes a little bit of sense, but I think the Adhara makes the most sense. So, yeah, adds the Longyun, dumps the Adhara, gets those two cards back to his hand, and then we're going to see him activate the Longyun here and discard into Vishuda, get token, nothing on res, no Nibiru, no token collector. Obviously, it's game one, makes the most sense. I think Nibiru definitely has its place this format, but I definitely don't think it's in the main deck. At least that's my personal take. I think there are, like, so many different ways to... Like decks that just outright, like Tearlament literally does not care about Nibiru whatsoever. Like Tearlament literally makes the deck go plus. Like I've tested against the deck so many times now where I've had been in an unfortunate circumstance where I've had to Nibiru them, and it's literally a -1 on your behalf, because like I Nibiru'd my friend Dan here on the left like when I absolutely had to, and he literally had 4 fusions on field, and after I nibbed him, had 4 fusions on field at the end of the turn. So like it just literally didn't matter. So we're going to see him go classic Baron Chijiao one set, which we notice to be the Imperm, has DD Crow in hand as well. Then we're going to see him normal summon the Rhino Heart, which is basically Armageddon Knight for the Tearlament strategy. You can dump any Tearlament, and then you can go ahead and perform a fusion summon from there on out. So we will see that trade with the Chijiao. And then we're going to see him activate a copy of Polymerization, which is going to get negated by Baron. And then we're going to see it follow up of Instant Fusion, which Instant Fusion's absolutely cracked in the Tearlament strategy. At least they can't search it this time around with like Predaplant stuff, like we saw the Predaplant Despia builds prior to Power of the Elements. But Instant Fusion, a very, very strong card. And we're going to go ahead and see him summon out the Kit Kalos. Level 5 Fusion. When it is Fusion Summon, it can either take a Tearlament's card, I believe, and either add it to the hand or send it to the grave from the deck. Very, very strong card all around. If it's sent to the graveyard via card effect, it can mill the top 5 cards off the deck, which is also really strong. Like that paired with its like effect to revive like another Tearlament. Like I think like the combo's like to revive Miru by destroying itself. You mill 8 cards right there. It's a lot of cards to mill. Odds are you're probably gonna hit a Tearlament. You're gonna hit a Shaddoll. You're gonna hit something that allows you to play. Imperm's gonna be fired off though on the Kit Kalos, and I don't blame him for doing that. You got to Imperm that card. Very, very strong. You got to keep those names out of the grave. Keep those potential chances of fusion summon at bay. And then we're going to see him discard King of the Swamp to go ahead and add a copy of the Fusion Substitute. It's been a long time since I've seen Fusion Substitute, but the card is always treated as Polymerization. So you can go ahead and add it off King of the Swamp, much like you could add it off the Lunalight Black Sheep back in the day, in the old Zodiac Fusion Sub combo. Yep, and activating Fusion Sub, making sure it's not in the same column as the Imperm was when it was set. I believe it was middle column. So now you can go ahead and fusion away the Kit Kalos and the Rhino Heart into a Dragostapelia. I was going to say you could go for the Kaleido Heart, which is the bigger Tearlament fusion, but I think that needs 3 monsters to make and not just 2. So he will get the effect, I believe, of both Kit Kalos and Rhino Heart if you wanted to, but you have to discard a card, I believe, to summon it back out of grave. But the Kit Kalos will mill 5, hitting 2 Havenus, a King of the Swamp, Ash, and Branded Fusion. And the interesting thing about King of the Swamp 2 in this deck is it allows you to access some really, really strong fusion monsters like Invoke Caliga. You also have the Lennymize Restrict, since it can, you know, copy one name that is specifically listed on a fusion. But we're going to see DD Crow here. That DD Crow, that last interruption having to play through there. No interruptions left. Top decking right now as a Swordsoul player. Having to play through all of that. Pretty strong. Yeah, DD Crow, like I said, very, very strong against the Tearlament strategy. Mainly because if you read the Tearlament monsters when they hit the grave and they try to fusion summon, they have to return themselves back to the deck. And if they don't, then they don't resolve. And it's also why you can bell them. We're going to see the Fusion Sub return the Kit Kalos, go ahead and draw one. Draws into a Called by the Grave. I believe also has a copy of Tearlament Salic in the hand, which is a continuous trap, I believe, for the Tearlament strategy. And the Dragostapelia is going to go over top of the Monk of the Tenyi. This card you do kind of have to clear off the board. Vishuda is in grave right now. You can't leave Monk on board, or else your whole board is just going to get absolutely destroyed by that Vishuda next turn. Yeah, Salic says, if you control a Tearlament monster or Visa Starfrost, you can target one effect monster your opponent controls, negate its effects, then send one monster you control to the graveyard. If this card is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can add one Tearlament's monster from your deck to your hand. So he's going to go ahead and set the Call by, which was drawn off the Fusion Sub and the Salic, and just pass turn there. Dragostapelia is a pretty good interruption to have against Swordsoul. Not only is it like spot negation, but it does manipulate levels. Anything that's level 2 or higher does become level 1. So pretty strong interruption here. But Baron is on field. You know, you still have Chi Zhao live. And he might even just be using Chi Zhao right now to attempt to go ahead and negate. But he also, I'm not sure what's actually happening here. I think he might just be standby phase called buying the Taya. He might have also been trying to use Baron in the standby phase here. Call buying the Taya target. Now, if that is what's happening here, I'm not 100% sure what's happening here because I don't have the audio. But if he is using Baron, targeting the Taya in the standby phase, and he does chain call by, Baron, I believe, still does return to the extra deck since it does try to resolve as much as possible. So that's what I think is probably happening there, and they might have missed that, which is unfortunate because it does kind of matter quite a bit. So yeah, can confirm I did go back and check the audio, and he was using Baron there, attempting to target the Taya. The called by was chained, so Baron would still return to the extra deck here. Baron would not remain on field, which again is kind of important since the Baron can just outright contest the Dragostapelia with the on-field destruction effect. So yeah, we'll see how the rest of this plays out, though. We'll see how it plays out. We'll see if he ends up using the Baron, right, forcing the Dragostapelia. I mean, he does have Emergence, though. Like I don't even really know what matters at this point. Like, you don't even need Baron on field right now. The Chi Zhao is just going to be enough. You know, you grab a Swordsoul, or in this case, he's gonna go for a little Adhara action here. Normally Adhara, you know, kind of playing around the Dragostapelia a little bit. Gonna go into the Monk, and he can just go ahead and get back the. Well, you can't get back the Taya here. I mean, you could get back the Taya, right? But, you know, its effects are negated the rest of the turn. He will be able to make the Vishuda alive, though. Just outright clearing the Dragostapelia and just going to add back off the Adhara there. And I think that would have just been game right there anyways, because he was only at 58. And we are into game 2, so see Goody up 1 over the Tearlament strategy. We're going to see my boy Dan get things started here with a copy of Terraforming. And as they start things off here in Game 2, quick shout out to Imperium Duelist, lovely sponsor of this channel for many, many years now. If you guys are interested in picking up high quality sleeves, deck boxes, dice, mats, sleeves, and binders and more, check them out at the link below. I have a discount code through them, winner kills 10 off. You can use that at checkout to save 10% off your entire order, and of course support the channel in the process. So we're going to see him go ahead and grab the Primeval Planet Tearlament. I'm glad it's not its OCG name, which is like Primitive Primal Planet Tearlament, something or other like that. It was a mouthful. But now it's just like triple P. So we're going to go ahead and see him activate the field spell. Let's go ahead and search out a Tearlament. It's going to go ahead and grab the Shaylin, which this is, I think, one of the better like starters / extenders in the deck. It says during your main phase, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, send one monster from your hand to the graveyard, then send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. So now that he has Shaylin, right, he can go ahead and, summon it by discarding another Tearlament, which, could potentially allow him to fusion summon there, but does send cards from the deck to the graveyard, so it is a valuable Ash. Then he's going to normal summon Miru, attempt to mill 3, that's going to get with him, Berm. Just, again, denying him complete access to fusion summon. He did have 2 Imperm there, plus Desires. It looks like we'll see if this Desires resolves. It will not. Hand traps trading here on both sides. And don't really think Colin opened up too much engine here, if at all. Although Ash at this point has been successfully baited. Just checking the damage there. I mean, to be fair, like, 2 hand traps is 2 hand traps. Most decks are going to kind of fold under 2 hand traps. Especially if they're, like, impactful ones and at the right time. So he's going to go ahead and normal summon the Ecclesia, or will special summon the Ecclesia, since his opponent does control more monsters. And that's a pretty good card to have right here. And he does have a copy of the Tearlament Meta Noise. So we're going to see the Meta Noise activate. It says if you control a Tearlament monster or Visa Starfrost, target one face-up monster your opponent controls as cost, change it to face-down defense position, then send one Tearlament monster from your deck to the graveyard. So it looks like he is going to target the Ecclesia and attempt to book it after sending. I'm not sure why the Miru hit the graveyard exactly. This might have also happened during battle phase, hence why the Ecclesia hasn't tagged out. At least that's what's making sense to me here. So he will fuse for Kit Kalos. It'll be Chainlink 1 Kit Kalos, Chainlink 2 Pelorino. So I'll be able to go ahead and pop a card when a, Tearlaments are returned back to the deck or shuffled into the deck, placed at the bottom, all the same thing according to Konami R&D. And then we're going to see him resolve the effect here of Kit Kalos to go ahead and send. Yeah, I believe that's... No, this is not Meta Noise he's resolving. I think he's resolving Salic right now. Yeah, you can turn one effect monster your opponent controls, negate its effects, then send one monster you control to the graveyard. Okay, so he's negating the Ecclesia in the battle phase, I'm assuming. Okay. This makes much more sense, because, like, the Tearlaments only get their effects when they're sent to the grave via card effect, and battle does not count as a card effect. That's just, like, mechanic, right? It's not a card effect. It is being sent by an opponent's card, but, card effect is different than just card. So, Salic will negate the Ecclesia, and he'll be able to send off the Miru, which will allow him to fusion, getting into the Kit Kalos, getting into Dragon Sepelia. Really good interruption here. Now, Tearlament's kind of crawling their way back into this game after kind of getting, shut out turn 1 there by double hand trap. And we're going to see him activate another copy of the Tearlament field spell. Go ahead and add a Tearlament card from the deck to the hand. And I want to see if I can actually pull the field spell up on DB. I hate and also love that it's not a Tearlament card. Yeah, Pelorino, the Primal Parallel Ruined Realm was the OCG name. When this card is activated, you can add a Tearlament monster or Visa Starfrost from your deck to your hand. So basically kind of like Rhoda, if you will. Or the archetype, and then fusions and Tearlaments you control gain 500 attack. Also kind of nice. So we'll go ahead and get Shaylin. Shaylin will go ahead and discard a King of the Swamp. Then sending Brandon Fusion, Havenus, and Rhino Heart. Very, very good mills here for our Tearlament Duelist. The King of the Swamp now can substitute for anything, so it could go, you know, copy Alistair the Invoker, could copy Relinquish for Millenniumize. Many different things that can be done here. And we'll see what he's going to go ahead and opt to fusion for. Returning the Havenus, the Rhino Heart, and the King of the Swamp, it looks like. So possibly going for a Kaleido Heart here. So we'll go for Kaleido Heart. Imagine we'll see some chains happening here. It'll be probably Chainlink 1 Kaleido Heart, Chainlink 2 Field Spell. Since things were placed to the deck, target one card in the field, destroy it, and then the Kaleido Heart can go ahead and bounce a card too if he wants to. I think it's actually shuffled back into the deck. I'm going to go ahead and pull that card up too. Just want to double check here. If this card is fusions, if this card is special summoned or an aqua monster sent to the graveyard by a card effect while this card is in the field. If this card is special summoned or an aqua monster or monster is sent to the graveyard by a card effect while this card is on the field. That's very weird wording. You can target one card your opponent controls, shuffle it into the deck. So yeah, it looks like that is just going to be the game. Our Swordsoul players seeing enough there. We are on to game 2. We're going to see Swordsoul go first, leading with the Pot of Desires. We're seeing DD Crow, Lava Golem, Dark Ruler, Ash Blossom, I believe, for our Tearlament player. And if that is Ash in hand, I'd be curious to see whether he uses it or not. And you might want him to get the draws, so he can commit to a bigger field potentially. And then let the Lava Golem go in, because Tearlaments really doesn't need their normal summon. So we're going to see him summon out of Ashuda and link into Monk and then activate Vessel. Vessel is going to go ahead and resolve here. Very, very good feeling when that card resolves. I know a lot of people have moved away from Vessel and more modern, I guess, in quotes, Swordsoul builds. But my friend Colin is a huge fan of Vessel. Huge, huge, huge fan. So refuses to cut the card. I think he's on like 2 copies of Vessel, 1 copy of Circle. If you guys want to see his profile, it's the same list that he played at Nats. And that day 2 deck profile is up on the channel if you guys want to check it out. So we're gonna see the DD Crow now on the Ashina, preemptive Crow. So you might not have Ash in hand, because I'm starting to think, you know, if you did have Ash in hand, like you probably at least hit the Vessel. If you're not gonna hit the Desires, like if you're definitely not gonna hit the Desires, like it's almost like kind of telling your opponent you're not gonna Ash, but he still does have, you know, a chance to Ash afterward on the Vessel. So I don't think I saw an Ash in hand. I might have saw something else. And I do see DD Crow in hand for Colin as well, so already kind of strapped. Like DD Crow, games 1 and 3, not super surprising. Definitely a 3 of in the main deck, at least going forward, or in the side deck, depending on what you like have a harder matchup against. I'd say it's probably makes more sense to like main Ogre if you're more afraid of like Brave and Sprite. And it probably makes more sense to main DD Crow if you're afraid of things like Tearlament or Despia. And it's also like, Power of the Elements is still not officially out yet. For another 2 days I'm recording this on the 3rd. So like it's like day -2 of Power of the Elements format. It's like, yeah, it's still a lot of learning to go. Like we're still in the very, very early stages. Could look back at this point in the format, in quotes format, you know, a month or so from now and think, you know, how different everything looks, or maybe things look the same, who knows. But the Tearlament deck, the Sprite deck, far from being solved at this point. Hand trap lineups, right, side deck cards, what ends up shaping up to be the best, you know, we won't know probably till after YCS Niagara or some big event. I'm not sure when YCS Minneapolis is happening. I think that might be happening before Niagara. Someone can probably correct me if I'm wrong, but we're going to go ahead and see him link into a second copy of Monk. Otter is going to go ahead and add back the Ashina. And Swordsoul setting up a halfway decent board here. I don't know if he's trying to go ahead and play around Nibiru here, or if he's just trying to get the Moe in rotation. It looks like he might be doing just that. He will reveal the Ashina. And he will go ahead and get token off Moe. And then we're going to see him go ahead and Synchro. into Chijiao. Probably Chainlink 1 Chijiao, Chainlink 2 Moe, although you could do it the other way around, since you could probably deduce that the opponent doesn't have Ash, and you could always search before you draw and deck thin a little bit. One thing I would personally do when I was playing Swordsoul, if you know, I passed the Ash check once, passed it twice, like Desire's resolving, okay, that's one thing. Vessel's resolving, that's another thing, right? So there's no way they're saving Ash for Chijiao at this point in the game. And if they have Veil or Imperm, you weren't chain blocking anyways, right? So you might as well get one card out of your deck before you go ahead and draw. At least that's, I feel like that's a fair tactic, but you know, to each their own. Probably won't make a huge difference in the grand scheme of things, but you know, it definitely could here and there. It's that little 1% improvement you could always try to make to like better your chances at seeing side deck cards, etc. So now we're gonna go ahead and see him drop the Long Yun. He'll get token. At this point, you definitely passed the Nibiru check. Gonna go for Qixing Long Yun here. And that's pretty good counter to the Tearlament deck, honestly, because they are not hitting the grave. They're being banished, banishing the field spell, banishing polys. Banishing the field spell's got to be huge. I mean, like, that's like, talk about huge. Like, that is a huge thing to go ahead and hit. Now we're gonna see the Ashina activate here, and he's gonna go ahead and Synchro 9. So we're probably gonna see a Chao Feng, although Chao Feng really not doing anything to the end board. Well, not doing anything against Tearlament, since the deck's primarily dark and water. So it's not doing anything there, but this is just kind of like a win more blackout target, I'm assuming. Yeah, Swordsoul absolutely in a very, very good spot right now. And the Dark Ruler that we know is in hand is like only going to do so much because he still has Blackout Chao Feng. Blackout Chao Feng, you know, that's still 2 interruptions right there, plus the DD Crow, which we know is in hand. So that's 3 interruptions through the Dark Ruler. And Blackout probably not going to be too impactful, right? Because if you black out and you have some of these Tearelement cards are going to trigger their effects in grave to go ahead and Fusion Summon. Probably only see it being valuable like End Phase, Blackout, hitting like a Meta Noise and hitting the field spell. So if they fuse on your turn, you know, they don't get the extra bit of removal, which, you know, might be problematic. But then again, you got the Qixing, but, you know, if we're assuming Dark Ruler, that's not going to be a problem. He does have Lava Golem too. But if I can recall from what I saw earlier, our Tearlament player's hand was not that great. Pretty unfortunate, actually. I think it was like Dark Ruler, Lava Golem, DD Crow, Fusion Sub. I think I might have seen the Fusion Sub. It might have been something else. Our Tearlament player really hasn't given us a chance to see the hand. Okay, it looks like it's Rhinoheart. Rhinoheart's a pretty strong card to have here. So Rhinoheart will go through, sending a Tearlament card to the grave. And he will send Shaylin, and the unfortunate thing here is, we know our Swordsoul player has DD Crow, and you got to use the DD Crow right there. Can't let them kind of, I mean, you probably, no, I mean, after getting Dark Lord, you definitely want to DD Crow that, because it could kind of spiral out of control. Well, like, I don't know what the engine of Tearlament's going to do to, like, fully crack this field. But you want to, like, prevent him from fusion summoning, just to begin with, because, like, they could, like, maybe break the field and put up a window, and at that point, you're kind of out of luck. And, you know, Blackout's really not doing anything to window. But it looks like after that, we're just going to see him to admit defeat. Very unfortunate hand there for our Tearlament player. Maybe could have kept going. Who knows? But, because he did have the poly in the mirror, so I don't know. But either way, that's going to do it. We're going to see Swordsoul take a 2-1 there. If you guys want to see more of my content, check out one of the videos below. And last but not least, a huge shout out goes to our Divine Level channel members who are Tweeter0226, Pony Start, Cadillac City 4, Justin Lamb, and HGH Cyber. Thank you guys so much as always for extremely kind and generous support of the channel.